All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the FE6 banner, which many people have been looking forward to for a very long time, especially since it was foreshadowed months ago by Intelligent Systems. I do hope that in the future they continue to do this so that those of you that do collect these type of heroes, or this might be your favorite game, get the opportunity to really look forward to this sort of thing. Just as we always do, if you're new to this impression series, so what I'm going to do is I look over the heroes, what their movement and weapon type roles do implicate on the meta, and we look at the new skills that are introduced into the game. So if that is your cup of tea, definitely take a look here. I'm talking from a perspective of tier 21 plus ether raids and of course top level arena as well. PvE content can be completed with like anything, so that's definitely not what I'm looking at here. We're just going to look at what that unit may be comparable to, which is what's currently in the game. So with all that being said, do look forward to the video. If you have questions, always check out the Discord link in below. We have a questions channel there. Plenty of unit discussion happens there as well. And of course the YouTube comments, I do look through them as well. So feel free to get engaged in that discussion. So let's jump into it, shall we? I love these new intro. Yo, I kid you not, guys. I kid you not. The first time I saw this, I literally thought this was Shanna, like a Shanna alt. And then I was like, wait, why is Shanna like not even look different in this alt? Because I'm so used to seeing alts on these banners. Like I was so conditioned in 2018 to seeing alts that I forgot Shanna had two sisters. Yeah, somebody's going to hate me for that. But I like Shanna so much I forgot she has sisters. I like Shanna actually more than people might consider. One of my definitely favorite Pegasus Knights. So yeah, I thought this was a Shanna alt. Obviously it's not. Mythic Anima hero confirmed. Okay, definitely better than Duma. You heard it here first.
I'm Lugh. I'm here because I can use magic. Not a lot, but I'm learning.
Okay, so yeah, there's Lugh. People wanted Lugh. I don't really care much for Lugh. I prefer Lilina myself, but Green Infantry Mage. That is a tough role to fight for, Lugh. Unfortunately, your mom, aka Nino, had just recently got a weapon refine. The weapon refine is okay. The fact that it removes the special cooldown is already pretty good, and it has a little bit more attack over a blade tome. So yeah, he's already competing with a tough situation. He may have more BST than his mom, but that may not matter in the end. So it's not looking too good, at least Green Infantry Mage. Maybe if they do something interesting with him, make him like a better Bowie, he could maybe do something different, like a fast, tanky mage, but also have maybe some resistance. That's not really covered in green that well. Like Merrick has HP and no rest, so hopefully he just doesn't end up being a worse version of his mom, because that might be disappointing for some people. Okay, so we have ourselves 4 skills, 2 passives, which is a candidate for a demotion. I want to say candidate, but I will not say that's the guarantee. We don't know yet what is going to get demoted from the Beast banner, which also had 3 units with 2 passive skills. So yeah, there's a lot of interesting things happening with these new banners lately, and I'm really looking forward to that. But let's talk about Lugh and what he does bring. So he actually brings Grand Serpent, which is brand new. I'm not a huge fan of the Grand Serpent, like the Serpent Tomes, but I do think they are fairly useful if you can't utilize the Owl Tomes that well, especially for like tanking, and if you already have like a good offensive stat spread. So take AR for example. Sometimes you can't have units beside you to fully take advantage of the Owl Tomes, and this is kind of a problem. So or spurs and whatnot. So it's better to use like drives or independent skills like stance skills instead of using bond skills. So that's where I think Serpent Tomes in particular can be pretty good. It pretty much gives you the full benefit of the defense and res that an Owl Tome with 3 units beside you would give you anyways. So yeah, that's pretty good. If you already have good offensive stats, I do think Serpent Tomes are decent. Take like the Blar Serpent that female Morgan had earlier. Like that would be pretty good on Oliver. Yeah, I said Oliver. No, seriously. These type of tomes are good if you stat stack enough in AR, create some sort of tanky units like that, and just make them withstand huge amounts of damage. Maybe rely on your specials like icebergs, glacies, and bonfires, or whatever you might have it to make it work. Of course, someone even like Bowie could definitely value this tome. Anyways, that's a little bit of my take on the Serpent Tomes. Rally Up Res. So Rally Up Res, I really actually appreciate more than just attack being in the game, because Rally Up Attack and the way that I use it on my AR defense team, if some of you have checked out the AR defense video or maybe watched some of the Twitch streams, I highly recommend checking that out if you see exactly why I prefer something like Rally Up Res over Rally Up Attack, is primarily because of Panic Matter, Versus Night, and even Panic Ploy. And buffing up attack usually ends up being a bad thing when I want to use rally traps in AR. So using something like Rally Up Res is less detrimental and doesn't hit someone like S, who really does rely on damage that way. So this is a very good skill for not only arena scoring, but also creating rally traps in which you don't want your other units who may follow up on an AR defense to be gimped after getting panicked, assuming they don't get danced and whatnot. So yeah, that's cool. I like that a lot, especially if it was to become more available. And I have been saying this for a while. Plus skills definitely seem like they will show up in availability, whether it's like through a demote or through a Tempest Trials or a Grand Hero Battle unit. With that being said, we have Mirror Stance here. This is already on Sylvia. Nothing new, nothing too fancy. It is 5-star for her, so maybe it could be 4-star here. And Attack Feint. So the Feint skills have been here for a while now, and I feel like they should start showing up, because realistically speaking, Feint skills are comparable to what we already have with Chills, and now we have Sabotage coming up as a new line of B skills. So I don't feel like they're that great. You don't really want to use like rallies in AR, for instance. You don't really want to use rallies in even PvE content where you'd prefer the positional skill. So using like Feints are really only good in something like Arena and possibly Arena Assault. Like I don't really find too much value out of it. However, I think Feints could be good on AR defense with rally traps. So that's definitely something that I would appreciate to see more of.
The voices of the land and air echo all around me. They are
Okay, so Green Bow. Hey, it's Lynn on a horse. It might actually be like Sue's a possible candidate for being Lynn's daughter, I guess. Beyond that, it's kind of funny that they're both Sake, like lineage, I guess, and they're both green bows, and she's on a horse. It's like this is fitting. Beyond, like, it's just really fitting. Beyond that, though, it's actually a unique movement and weapon type. I gotta admit, it is a unique weapon and movement type, and the only comparable like available units in the 3 and 4-star pool that have green range damage is actually like Cecilia, and Cecilia has a very particular stat spread. Not even too good, honestly, kind of outdated. So Sue is in line for actually being pretty unique as a unit, even though she's a green bow. I do think there's definitely some potential in her depending on what sort of stat spread she gets. So I'd say I'm pleasantly surprised with this. Yeah, just because it's completely new. And I think people can appreciate, like, kind of like Lynn. Not really Lynn, but, you know, that's kind of Lynn.
all I need.
Okay, so she brings some new stuff to the table. Likely not a demote candidate because she has 5 skills, 3 passives, but short bow is your Wodao bow, which was a missing thing that we had. It has some nice implications, especially on someone like Halloween Jacob. I think Halloween Jacob especially would use this well, combined with something like Special Fighter, Noontime, some sort of builds like that. I do think could really stand out if he was to use it in particular. That's not to say he's the only one that can use it, but that is definitely one of the first I thought of when I saw it. Moonbows, whatever. Swift Sparrows, whatever. It seems like they just like to give that to any ranged unit at this point. Chill Defense, sure. But what really does stand out here is Hone Speed 4. So Hone Speed 4, just like Hone Attack 4, I think has some really, really good reasons why this could be even more useful than Hone Attack 4. So you really use Hone Attack 4 with someone like Legendary Azura to buff up 7 to all stats, but you gotta also consider that sometimes you don't want to use your Dancer, like your Dancer's turn to buff up stats, and this is very important when considering like Gale Force strats. Gale Force strats in particular, they want attack and speed, but I think they want speed even more unless they have auto doubles in the case of like Legendary Ephraim or Bold Fighters or whatever like that. So Hone Speed 4 is really good because you can ensure that your unit gets the speed they need to double off of Gale Forces if that's required. This is a big problem for me when I've been using units like Valter who just seem to be off by like a couple points of speed. You need the attack for Heavy Blade, might I add you. So both stats are good, but I think speed is the most important one, which does require that consistency there. So that being there is really good because you do need the beginning of turn stats, and that really provides it. Not to mention, especially with free summon tickets to consider here because Forging Bonds is coming back, the fact that Lugh and Sue are both green is good. That means there is a good chance that not only because green is the least saturated pool, but because they share, you should actually see one. A pretty good probability that you'll see one with greens on free summon tickets. So there's a good chance of getting a Woe Dao Bow, a Hone Speed 4, Rally Up Pluses, or even a Feint if that's your thing. Grand Serpent. There's a lot of good like free summon potential at a green here. I don't think, like, we'll talk about why I don't think you should pull overall, but generally speaking, at least there's some good like value out of green, and there's nobody that's like a dud.
Carried by the wind. Ilya is cold and destitute. Being a mercenary is the only way to make a living.
Sorry, Shanna. You know, the irony here is Shanna is probably better. That's the irony that I'm already seeing. Okay, she actually was. Like, Shanna is actually better than Thea in FE6. That I think is pretty much a fact because of the availability. But beyond that, Blue Lance Flyer, that is so bad of a movement type, so saturated. It's almost as saturated as a Red Sword Infantry at this point. And I can already tell you right now, like, this is such a competitive area to be in that I don't expect Thea to, like, remake the world when it comes to anything. It even screams, like, please demote me and saturate that Blue Lance Fire pool even more. There is, like, no stat spread that I can even think of that hasn't been covered in the Blue Lance Flyer category. You have, like, Florina, slow, mixed bulk. You have fast Shigures. You have like the White Wing refines with like crazy amount of stats and brave effects. Like, what can you bring? You can't bring anything new. I just don't see it. So this is 40 flyer flowers right here. What is this? What is sealed? Who uses double seals? Is this 2017? Did Summer Freddy forget to send this package? What is that? And we just had Race and demoted with steady posture. What? Okay. Vanguard Plus. So that's like Safeguard, but for lances. Okay, that's okay, I guess. I guess that's okay. Lucas might like that. Might be really good to try to create mixed bulk units. I'm trying really hard, guys. That lance may be useful.
It's my battle to fight. For age after age, I lay sleeping.
All right. Idunn, Cthulhu. I don't know. I'm just gonna call her Idunn. I'm gonna call her Idunn because I feel like that's what her name should have been. or it makes the most sense to me. So Idunn it is. All right. Let me start this off. Let me preface this before people get really upset, which of course you can totally expect it to happen with armored dragons if you've seen me review any of them before. I like Idunn a lot. She's like top 3 of my favorite dragons in the FE series. I'll just say that straight up. Adultiki is probably my favorite, and Idunn is second or third. I don't really know who's, maybe Mila's up there too. I don't know. Definitely not Duma. But definitely one of my favorites, so I can tell you that much. I like this one a lot. So before that, I just want to get that out of the way. It's not going to make me pull for it in any manner. I just want to make sure you guys know that. Second, red armored dragon. Okay, same problems always. I don't know why they keep doing this, and it's going to be the same every time. Unit with big weaknesses has a lot of problems. Doesn't matter what their stat spread is. I've literally had units, armored dragons like Halloween Myrrh, Winter Fae, Legendary Tiki, all of them, by the way, with like 270 BST. I'm not even kidding. I've had male Corrin, stat stacked, plus 10, summoner supported, 4 or 5 dragon flowers. The best case scenario you can do with these units and all their stats, and they still die. They do like 2 damage to air and then die super fast to est. Okay, what is the common trend there? They have weaknesses. They have big glaring weaknesses. Okay, that is not why these units are good. Stats do not carry you in a game of strategy that's based on rock paper scissors and those sort of weaknesses that are so glaring that your unit dies to them. So it doesn't really matter what Idunn's stat spread will end up being. The fact that she's weak to Falchion, the fact that she'll be weak to Mystic Boost, the fact that Lithia will deny QR or any doubles through Vengeful Fighter, for instance, will make her significantly less consistent than if she wasn't an armored dragon. I didn't even mention, of course, you have your armor slaying weapons and dragon slaying weapons, both of being very common. However, red is probably the better place to put a dragon, to be fair. I think Summer Young Tiki is a really good unit. I think Evgrima is a solid unit. And I do think that Adultiki is still a very solid unit. And that's because Deirdre and Julia are not, like, first of all, they're green, so they have the color disadvantage. And second, there's no real blue Dragon Slayers other than Legendary Tiki, who is kind of easy to dodge. Like, Falchions are red versus red, so like a green dragon has a problem, and a blue one suffers to Deirdre and Julia as a comparison. So red is pretty good. You pretty much have like Yulgur with a bucket or something, or Hoshiden Ryoma with a bucket. That would be like your nightmare in this case. So their weaknesses aren't as prominent. Therefore, Idunn is okay, at least in color. Unfortunately, still has all the other problems that armored dragons have. Okay. Comes with Fort Defense Res. So Cliff initially had this. Now we have Idunn having it. She's a red, though. Red's very saturated, hard to pull from. Not generally what I would recommend to try to get that fodder from. Vengeful Fighter, I've really, this is like better QR at this point. I don't really think, I'm not a big fan of Vengeful Fighter. I think Special Fighter and Bold Fighter are far better. Vengeful Fighter could be good as a PvE skill, but you don't really can't afford to take like 2 hits. If Idunn ends up being pretty fast, then Vengeful Fighter could be decent, but I still think Special Fighter is the way to go on most armors. Bonfire, War Dragons. I can appreciate War Dragons actually because I feel like that skill is still fairly rare. I believe it came on Grima before, male Grima. So yeah, still pretty rare. So more units having it is always good. Let's touch on Demonic Breath. So weapon is armor slaying. Not kind of what I wanted to see. Definitely didn't want to see that. Like Demonic Breath being armor slaying is not useful. Armors are not that common. They like, you think they're common, but they're not, because all they are is units in arena for high scoring. And if you use her for arena, you don't really want her to kill with an effective weapon, because that's just gonna, it's just going to deny the bonus unit a kill. So the fact that she has that, it's not good there. And if you think about AR, you don't want to use armors for the exact same reason we just talked about. Armors in AR are hit or miss. Really good when they don't run into weaknesses, really bad when you do. And since AR is not about retrying your match and you only got one shot, if you run into your weaknesses, then you're going to probably escape ladder. Therefore, not that useful. If this was hitting something else, like infantry or flyers, that would be definitely more game breaking. But hitting armor is not so important. Anyways, the effect itself. So it's pretty unique, something that's definitely not in the game, which is if she is debuffed or less than 100%, she gains a bunch of stats. That's pretty good. That's pretty much it, really. That's good. Especially if you like use someone like a Versa, which is pretty common, or like an enemy uses a Versa, that's pretty common, or a chill, and she probably has high enough stats to soak those chills. So yeah, like Demonic Breath is decent, but it's not good enough that I think it matters. Like just getting more stats isn't going to save you. It seems like it's pretty effective against somebody like, let's say, Surtur, and obviously Surtur's Menace, or Duma, who has like upheaval, but you're going to really have like an armor brawl fest in AR. Like that's not really a common trend up here. You're going to run into flyer balls, infantry pulses. You're going to run into infantries and flyers, not armors. The rare armor you see is like Duma is used to just reduce lift. It doesn't really make the match harder than it has to be. Therefore, I'm not really impressed by the weapon. It's something that you're going to be using maybe like distant counter for, getting a bunch of stats, and hoping you survive through a bunch of effective weapons. Fallen Shield would be huge as a seal. I feel like flyers cheat because they have Iont Shield, but if we saw a Fallen Shield seal, a lot of what I say here would definitely change my mind on how these units play out. So we'll see. If that ends up happening, a lot of these units will become a lot better. That's pretty much my take on that.
Why resist?
That's pretty good though. Animation's always improving. Good job to our team, man. Nice map design too. Okay. So, the banner itself. As with all banners, I gotta mention this. 4-person banner, meaning you're not gonna get extremely good value out of this banner. Careful when targeting skills especially. Skill banners do end up showing up months from now. Somebody like Cliff being blue and being on a 3 or 2-person banner is gonna definitely get you more value for 4 defense res than trying to pull it off of Idunn here. Don't do that. The units themselves may get demoted in the case of Thea or Lugh, so watch out for that, potentially. I do think it's Thea though, but you know, who knows? Especially we don't know what's going on. This is a little bit different in how they tend to handle these. So yeah, if you want the units, patience is always nice. You can always see overlap in banners, maybe a new seasonal, maybe the legendary banners, mythic banners and whatnot. And of course, in the future, when they end up in 3 and 2-person banners, you can get a lot more value for your orbs there. Therefore, I wouldn't hastily spend any orbs here. The units themselves aren't as impressive as I would have expected. I think someone like Sue has a lot of potential from this banner, especially for AR. Picking off units, depending on what her stat spread ends up being, she could be really good, believe it or not, just because she's in such a unique movement class weapon type. Honestly, it's really unique, and I'm really impressed by that. Idunn's really cool. But cool isn't going to carry you in AR or Arena, where you're just pretty much a score bot, and even your effective weapon isn't going to be helping anybody. So not too impressed there. But generally speaking, patience, wait it out. Let's see what the stats end up being. I'll do my comparison analysis then and give you guys a better take on what I think overall. Yeah, well, pretty much sums it up. So thanks for watching as always. Give the video a thumbs up if you haven't already. Please let me know what your thoughts on these units are in the comments below. Feel free to join the Discord as well for more discussions. You'll see the links also in the description below. Sub to the channel if you haven't already. And I will see you guys probably in 2 days or so for the analysis video. See you guys then.